All right, that was great. I didn't, if Liz, if you said this, I didn't catch it, I apologize, but a really great book that is in that line of exactly what Liz and Gabby were talking about is The Gap and the Gain. It's one of my fave books. I gave it to the whole team 2 years ago. Super powerful if you're a reader, really, really good. So if you didn't know this is before I get into supplements, but the 4 pillars of fitness that we kind of, it's in our mission statement as Whole Strength, why we call our gym Whole Strength, is movement, nutrition, sleep, and mindset. All right, and so it's kind of like mindset stuff that Liz and Gabby were talking about. But the longer you're in this game, the more you realize it just plays right into what we're doing with food and all this stuff, right? So they're not disconnected, they're super connected. So that was really, really helpful. Thank you guys. Okay, we're gonna shift the gears and we're gonna go into supplements. I think, Ty, I think you were the one that he asked me like, hey, could you have me get some help with supplements, right? And I was like, you know what? Let's do a talk on it because I hear lots of conversations around this. So let's set a couple qualifiers so we kind of see where the landscape is. First of all, who's taking any supplements right now? Like who's like, I'm using some supplements. Okay, a lot of people, right? Supplements are the Wild West, right? They are an unregulated industry. They pretty much, manufacturers can say they do anything. There's literally very little besides, the marketplace not buying their product. There's nothing that's overseeing that's saying what's in there is what's in there. There's nothing that's saying like what you say that will do, it will do, right? So it's important to understand that the world of supplements gets really muddy really fast. I am going to cram everything I can into 30 minutes, but the reality is we could talk about this for hours, and it can get really deep really fast. So we know it's the Wild West. If you do any even just research on your own, just go to YouTube or something like that and type in, I did some of this because I was trying to refresh on some things. And I was typing in whey protein, and most of everything is, you could tell right away, is just influencers talking about product that they are getting endorsed to talk about, right? And so, or it's product that they actually own, it's their product, right? So you're like, okay, there's obviously some bias in there. Qualifier, I don't own any supplement companies. But it's hard to sift through all that, right? And so making sure, getting to good data is really tough, right? Is what I'm trying to say, right? You pretty much have to go to the research, actual research, if you want to try to get some heads or tails out of this, which you can do, or you can just come to the coaches here because we do that for a living, right? So that's so if we kind of understand the landscape, we know what we're talking about a little bit, it can get pretty muddy pretty fast. I'm going to keep it pretty surface level, but I'm going to give you some ideas and some things. I made a little list, like Ryan's musts. Anyone want to take a guess what might be on there? Fish oil! Yeah, okay, talk about fish oil a lot, right? So, okay, that's definitely on the list. But then I also, for those who are I would just want to really improve my performance in the gym. So maybe not necessarily must, but things you could do to actually improve your performance in the gym, right? So we'll get to that at the end. All right, so let's see. I'm going to make sure I didn't make as pretty notes as Liz did. So, okay, the most accurate. Well, I'm going to make some notes here. Okay, we'll come back to that. But essentially, we're going to put these in categories: essential, non-essential. Does anyone know what those mean? Essential nutrients and non-essential nutrients besides nutrition coaches in the room. Anyone know? Okay. So essential nutrients are nutrients you have to consume, right? Your body cannot synthesize them on its own, right? And they are necessary for human function. So you could also put supplements in that category as well, right? Should back up. Let's define our supplements, right? So we're not talking about things that are whole foods. We're talking about things that are not whole foods, right? That's our supplements. That does not mean all supplements don't carry caloric, a caloric component to them, right? Whey protein would be a great example, right? Whey protein has calories attached to it. It's a macronutrient supplement, right? It is also is essential, meaning like what is in whey protein. Not that you have to eat whey protein, obviously, but what is in whey protein is necessary for human function and must be consumed, okay? Non-essential supplements and or nutrients, right, is nutrients that are two things. One, cannot be synthesized by the body on its own, and two, are not necessary for human function, right? So let's put a couple of supplements in that category so we get at least a framework here. Creatine would sit in that category, non-essential, although it's one of my favorite supplements. So when you see non-essential, it doesn't mean that's trash, don't waste your money on it. It just means that your body will synthesize creatine on its own just by eating food, right? Also, a non-essential would be caffeine. That's another great one. Body cannot synthesize caffeine on its own. Also, not necessary for human function. Does that make sense? Okay. What's that? Yeah, so you're like, wait, whoa. Wait up, coach. I need my caffeine. Some of you guys, I'm like looking at your drinks right now. I'm judging how much caffeine you're drinking. No, I'm not judging. All right, so, okay. So we got to understand these two things. All right, so what sits in here is amino acids, fatty acids. Basically, every macronutrient sits over here. What are the macronutrients? Anybody? Yeah? Carbs, fats. You got it. That's it. That's it, right? And then you got your non-essential, right? Like, so I'll put a bunch over here. Creatine, caffeine, taurine. I'm gonna step on your toes. Pre-workout. Oh! Some of you are all like, dang it, fat burners. All right. Okay. So when we're looking at this, we got to understand what is our goal with the supplement. And this is where it gets tricky, right? What are we trying to accomplish? So here's the raw truth. The only way to actually know is to test yourself, right? To do a blood test, to do a saliva test, to see what it is that you're lacking before you just shotgun approach this thing, right? So I did have some companies here that I like. If you want to talk to me afterwards, I can talk to you about that, right? You can get this from a functional medicine doctor as well, right? But being able to actually test, especially when it comes to micro, and this would be like all your vitamins, right? So back to our framework here, if we know the supplement industry is a little bit like the Wild West, companies can kind of say their vitamin does everything, right? And I'm not even saying they're not all. I'm not saying all companies are like lying to you. There are very reputable companies out there. But if you're like, I'm lacking energy, but then I'm like, oh, B12, B complex gives me energy, right? Let me just take that. If you don't know if you're low on B vitamins, it's not going to give you. First, not going to give you anything, right? And some vitamins can actually put you in a toxic state, right? Vitamin A is a great example, right? Some vitamins are what are called fat soluble, some are water soluble. Some have to be processed in the body with fat present and some do not, right? So if you're taking a fat soluble vitamin and you're just dosing the crap out of it, you can actually throw yourself into a toxic state, right? So that's like when you're with the micronutrients, I try to be careful unless I know specifically what it is that I'm low on, right? And you can only know that if you do blood work or there are some like saliva tests like through a company like Thorne. They're not going to tell you everything, but there are different ways you can test it, right? So I got to know what I am at with these micronutrients before I just say, oh, I'm low on energy. It must be insert whatever, right? That make sense? Okay. So I'm always cautious when it comes to vitamins. I got a little thing here. This is a little qualifier, right? If you're taking supplements, but your nutrition is not, solid, right? It's like putting a Band-Aid on a limb that you cut off, right? You're like, this is not going to work, right? It's like take your time and energy and money and put it into better just nutrition first. That's gonna be your better route. And then take the supplements for extra things if you need something specific to address a specific deficiency, or if you're just trying to get jacked in 2025 and you wanna get all the gains, right? Okay, we'll talk about the gains in a second. All right, so nutrition is gonna be your foundation. That make sense? Okay. Okay. All right, we're gonna talk about the last thing, and then I'm gonna go into some specific supplements that I like. You get what you pay for when it comes to supplements. So if you're like, okay, I got $100 to spend, and I could get these 4 supplements, and they're all like $10 at Kroger, or I could get this one thing, right, and it's gonna cost me $100, but I'm gonna get super quality. Which one do you think is the better route? You got it, right? You really do get what you pay for. This is, again, I'm always careful because there's shotgun approaches here, but just about everything in a Walmart, Kroger, or Publix is garbage. Just don't spend your money. You're probably quite literally peeing it out in the toilet, right? So you're gonna have to go spend a little bit more money, right? Or get less, but get better, right? It's gonna be your better option, okay? So protein is a great example of how you could measure this, and there's plenty of people that have broken this down. I'm not gonna break all the math down. But the way you would do this is like you would look at how much, like if you bought a chicken breast, you bought eggs, bought milk, you're like think like bought steak, right? And you break that down, how much protein is in that thing, right? And how much you paid for that thing, and how many grams, like basically a price per gram is what the math you're gonna try to get to, right? How many grams of protein, how much you paid for it, right? I'm gonna tell you right now, most protein is around between 5 to 8 cents per gram, right? I'm gonna tell you right now, I've done all the math already, okay? So if you find a whey protein that is like 2 cents per gram, that should be like ding, 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 like, oh, I'm getting a great deal, or what I'm buying is garbage, right? Probably that one. Make sense? Okay. So you really do get what you pay for. How can you find good supplements? The price, third-party testing, understanding where the sourcing is for that thing, references, right, is the main thing. And then the last thing is testing the actual outcome, right? So how do I find a good supplement? I'm going to write it down. Third-party testing, where it's sourced from, references. What I mean by references is like talk to people that don't have a stake in the game that you would trust, like a coach, right? Would be great, right? We have stuff on the shelf, but like not like we endorse those things really necessarily, right? Test it on yourself. This is where that blood work comes back. It's like if you, hey, I did my blood work, I'm low on vitamin D, and then I supplement with vitamin D, right? And then I come back 6 months later and it's in a good level, right? Then I'm like, okay, cool. Like I know. Now I haven't isolated for all variables, right? Vitamin D, right, is synthesized in the body on its own. So, right, so you could have just got more sunlight, but at least I might have an idea like whether this thing worked or not. Makes sense? Okay. All right. So, like I said, I also want to leave some time for questions because I feel like there could be a lot of questions. But I'm going to get into some, yeah.
Could you explain like what third-party testing means and like what we should be looking for?
Yeah.
Like say protein.
Yeah.
There's like a label.
Yep, that's great. So, so the transparency of the company that's doing the third-party testing is really important. Not all third-party testing is legit, but yeah. So here protein is a little trickier, but I'll give you a great example of fish oil because I know a lot of fish oil, right? Good Lord, fish oil, right? Good question. Is fish oil essential or not essential? Anyone want to take a guess? Take a stab. It is essential. That's right. Right. You have to consume. The essential, non-essential word messes people up because it makes you think I have to take fish oil. No, what it means is what's in fish oil must be consumed. The fatty acids that are inside fish oil have to be consumed. They can't be synthesized in your body outside or inside your body. But back to the fish oil, third-party testing. So like fish oil, like if you get a quality fish oil, you should be able to flip the bottle over and you should be able to see a number attached to it that you can go to a third-party testing like website and type in that number. And that number will tell you a batch number from when that fish was caught, where it was caught, what ocean it was caught in, and who caught the fish, right? Yeah. Now, not all fish oil has that because not all fish oil, yeah, who's his grandpa, right? Not all fish oil subjects itself to third-party testing. Cheap stuff does not, right? Cheap fish oil is actually sold on the commodities market. It's like, it's basically just random fish, byproduct of fish that they put in a pill and try to sell you, right? That makes sense? So that's a great way. Like you could flip it over. I could go not to the manufacturer's website. I could go to a third-party website and I could look up all that information. Make sense? Okay, yeah. Was there a question, James?
I just want to know, when you call that number or whatever, will they allow you to go out and fish with them?
Yeah, you go fish with them. Somewhere off the coast of Maine, you can be out there fishing. Right. Okay, that's good. I love that question. Okay, so I'm running out of whiteboard space, so if you want to write this stuff down, you can. But again, I caution, this is not something I'm saying everybody should take no matter what because it's so individualized, right? But these are some general rules, stuff that I particularly like. I think I find beneficial for most people. You always know fish oil. It's going to be on there. I like to put fish oil with vitamin D. Most people in North America are deficient on vitamin D. Vitamin D is an interesting one, right? You might not need it in the summertime, but you probably need it right now, right? So not all supplements are like, I just take this for now, forever, right? There's part-time supplements, things that you might just use for certain times, right? But you can often get fish oil with vitamin D in it, right? Mixed in. Vitamin D, again, vitamin A is fat soluble, right? Magnesium. This is a, and it kind of ties into the next one, but magnesium, I find for a lot of people is very beneficial. And this has a lot to do with soil quality in North America right now. Soil quality is not the greatest. And so there's some minerals that are really deficient in food that they weren't deficient in even just 100 years ago, right? So magnesium is really helpful for a lot of folks, right? There's different kinds of magnesium. I'm not going to have time to get into all of that right now. So it does depend a little bit. But generally, magnesium citrate is the one I'm probably going to stay away from. That's the cheap one. That's the one that's in Kroger right now if you go over there and get magnesium, right? But I'd probably go more towards like glycinate or something like that, right? So this ties into the next one, but electrolytes I think is good for a lot of folks. That is combination usually of potassium, magnesium, and sodium, right? Sodium is an interesting thing to study, right? And I say supplements carefully here because these are also just minerals. They're just in food, right? So carefully here. But sodium is an interesting one. Like sometimes we get that kind of demonized because of high blood pressure. The research shows more like things like MSG are products of high blood pressure as opposed to like sea salt, right? So the food, like supplement, especially supplement industry, is very reductionist. If you find that, if you do any preliminary research, it's very like, oh, oranges, they're good for you. Therefore, vitamin C. Therefore, let's just supplement with vitamin C, right? But the reality is when you eat an orange, a lot of things happen in your body, more than we even know. We have no idea all the chemical reactions that happen when you eat an orange, right? Okay. Okay, so electrolytes, probiotics, I find to be very helpful for most people as well. Probiotics are one of those things that you kind of want to vary up a little bit, right? So if you're taking like one particular kind of probiotic, switching that regularly is really important. Not all probiotics are from dairy, right? A lot of them that are commoditized, that are in the grocery store are, but there's probiotics from other foods as well. It's generally, really it's just kind of fermented foods, right? So if you can add in fermented foods back to a whole food option, it's not really a supplement, you're just eating more fermented foods, right? But you can take probiotics in a supplement form as well. Make sense? Okay, so who likes fermented foods? Anybody? Yeah, a couple. Yeah, I can see. Yeah, that's right. I love it. That's great. It's if you look at human history, it's how we ate a lot of food until modern refrigeration, right? And so it's really a part of human history. It's kind of, I think it's kind of making a comeback. People are like doing the kombucha or the kefir water or the kimchi or whatever. But I think a lot of people still don't really have an appetite for fermented foods because we don't eat them very much, right? But really, really healthy. Okay. So that's on I called it my must list, right? But fish oil, magnesium, electrolytes, probiotics. You'll notice something that's absent on there is protein supplement. But we'll talk about protein if we want. We could talk about it a little bit. All right, here's my go-tos for performance. All my folks are like, I got those down. I'm crushing nutrition. I'm in the gym regularly. I just want to get jacked in 2025. That's what I want to do, right? That's my theme word for the year, jacked. Get jacked. Creatine. If you're doing all kinds of other crazy stuff before you're doing creatine, you are missing the boat, man. Like, creatine is the most researched supplement in the world. There is actually tons of metadata studies on creatine, which is basically people who take all the research paper and then put it into a giant research paper, right? And so there's lots of it. Anyone taking creatine right now? Who's taking creatine? Couple? Okay, it's fantastic, right? If you're doing pre-workout before you're doing creatine, I would argue that you're maybe missing it a little bit, right? Creatine is been proven safe, effective, and inexpensive. Yes?
What are some food groups that creatine's naturally in?
Ooh, good question. Beef is one of them. But here we go back to the quality of the food sourcing is really important, right? So not all beef, not all meat is the same, right? So if you depend on the quality that you're getting, but I know it's highest in beef. It's one of the highest it's in, right? So it's a good point. Creatine is, remember, it's in the non-essential category, meaning your body already has it in you, right? Some people have naturally high levels of creatine, so when they supplement with creatine, they don't notice much, right? Because you have naturally high levels of creatine. But for most people, it's a very, very powerful supplement, right? There's actually been research that it shows it helps with cognition, helps with menopausal women, right? It like with different things with menopause, right? It's shown a lot of things. Its history is in improving. It was really kind of popularized in the 90s, helping Olympic sprinters, right? And that's the history behind when it became a thing, right? It doesn't make you bulky, right? Like people are like, oh, creatine. I hear this from women sometimes. I don't want to get bulky. I don't want to take creatine. It doesn't do that. That's not what it does, right? Those are all just kind of, misnomers, right? Okay, so what it actually does, I won't get too deep into this, but what it actually does is it allows you to produce energy faster in short burst efforts. Like when you're in the gym, that's what it's doing for you, right? So we do that all the time in CrossFit. We're like, go really hard and then we rest, and then we go hard and then we rest, right? Which is why Olympic sprinters were the ones that kind of popularized creatine, right? It allows you to go harder longer in those efforts. Make sense? Okay. So creatine is one of my tops. Here's a couple other ones. Beta-alanine, really powerful supplement. Beta-alanine, that decreases lactic acid accumulation. Again, what we do in CrossFit a lot of times, it can be helpful so that we're not getting into that muscle fatigue place as quickly. Now, beta-alanine has to be dosed really well. So it's best taken right before, or right after a workout. Probably both. You got to mess around with the dosage a little bit. So if you're like, I don't want to get too nerdy on that. If you want more details, but about 1 to 2 grams before and after. It can make you flushed, red skin, and it can make you tingle, which is actually not a detrimental side effect, but it is a weird side effect. So, leucine. Leucine is a precursor amino acid that will help you maximize muscle protein synthesis. Leucine. Leucine. Yeah, leucine is another one. And then last one, I put this in quotations. I'm careful here, but caffeine. So caffeine it's important to understand. Caffeine is used by most people, including myself. I just had some coffee. But caffeine is a stimulant, All right. It is absolutely not necessary for human function, believe it or not. It's a stimulant. You build a tolerance to it, right? You will go through withdrawals. Most people will if they use a lot of it and try to get off of it.
That's sugar for me.
Well, that's sugar too, right? But caffeine is that too, right? So, and you can become like desensitized to it, right? So if I take in a lot of caffeine and then just take in a little bit more before a workout, I'm probably not going to notice anything, right? So you get more sensitive to it if you downregulate it, right? Go ahead. What's up, Holly?
I noticed that you're listing this about caffeine. Are there any other negative side effects for the other ones that you listed, or is it just caffeine that you have to be careful with?
I would say caffeine is unique in that position. Yeah. Caffeine is definitely unique in that. You don't need to cycle off of creatine. That's old advice. People used to think maybe cycle off of it, but caffeine is definitely one of those. If you're using it to improve performance in the gym, you probably need to cycle off of it, right, and then back on it, right, because you do grow less sensitive to caffeine, right? Make sense? So that's why I like put very cautious parentheses around it. I'm not a huge fan of synthetic caffeine. I'll be honest with you, and which is in what a lot of stuff like pre-workouts are. So I'd rather take natural caffeine if I had to do it. So, okay. All right. Questions on those two lists? Yeah, Mary, what you got?
I've heard that if you don't take creatine like consistently, that it's like not very effective.
Right.
Is that true?
Yeah, that's right. So creatine is generally 5 milligrams. Is a good place to be. You don't need to load it. That's old advice. Like you would take a bunch extra for like 30 days, and then you just take 5 milligrams a day, right? And just put it in anything. Take it once a day.
So I bought some and I tried like mixing it with my protein powder, like after a workout, but it makes my stomach hurt. And I've heard other people say that too. I don't know if that just means like.
I would take it with a meal then instead of protein. Yeah, creatine doesn't have to be timed by a workout. It's not like beta alanine, yeah, or even protein. Yeah, that's a good question. You could take it just with a meal any time of the day. It's fine. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't have to be like timed around your workout. Creatine doesn't have to be. Yeah.
If you were going to mention one essential one that is going to be like, this is the one you should start with, if you're trying to align your either macronutrients or
Supplements. Yeah, fish oil. Yeah. Fish oil for sure. Here's the thing. If you are eating a diet very low in seed oils and processed foods, if you're eating a diet very low in what's called omega-6 fatty acids, right? So, and you are naturally eating a diet really high in omega-3 fatty acids, then you might not.
So it's not the same? Omega-3
It's the same as fish oil?
Right.
okay.
Well, the right way to say this would be fish oil contains omega-3 fatty acids, right? So, so if you're eating foods that are high in a lot of omega-3 fatty acids, you maybe don't need food omega-6s, right? So omega-3 fatty acids are anti-inflammatory, right? Omega-6 fatty acids are pro-inflammatory. You might think, well, then I never want omega-6s. No, inflammation is good in the body when it's in an acute situation. If you get a bee sting right now, you better hope to God you actually inflame, right? So inflammation is good, right, in acute situations. Problem is that most people that are eating a standard American diet are eating a lot of omega-6s because omega-6s are found high in concentration in seed oils primarily, and we put a lot of seed oils because they're cheap and they're shelf stable. We put a lot of seed oils into processed foods. So you flip over that package and you see what's on that thing, right? It's going to have a lot of seed oils. I'm talking corn oil, I'm talking canola oil, I'm talking sunflower oil, I don't know why Chick-fil-A is like, peanut oil, we use peanut oil. It's not healthy for you. Let's just get it out of the way, right? Okay. But they like to brag about their peanut oil and if you ever go talk to someone at Chick-fil-A, right? I'm talking about all those oils, right? Those are ones, we eat a lot of those. They're pro-inflammatory, right? So what you're trying to do is with fish oil, you're trying to balance out the ratio, right? If you're to draw blood, right, where my ratio? A lot of research shows like a 6-to-1 or 3-to-1 ratio is kind of where we want to be. 6 parts omega-6 to 1 part omega-3. A lot of Americans are 20, 30, 40 to 1, right? They're way high on the omega-6s and way low on omega-3s. It's also a function of the fact that a lot of the food that naturally would have had omega-3s is missing omega-3s, right? So where is omega-3s naturally? They would have been in eggs. They would have been in fish, obviously. It would have been in beef, right? They're not, you don't find it in most beef. You want to take a guess? You want to take a guess why? The soil, yes, but what? Right. Because what do we feed most beef in America? Corn, right? I'm from South Dakota, baby. I was just back there a couple months ago, right? Most cattle is fed corn, right, or soy. Or they don't eat grass, right? Maybe a little bit, but not a lot, right? So, right, because beef animal is upcycling nutrients from the ground, right, into the tissue of their meat, and then we eat the meat, if you eat meat, that is. Exactly, right? So omega-3s aren't in there because they're of what those animals are eating. We even feed corn to fish, right? So you go to a catfish farm. Do you think catfish eat corn in the wild? No, they do not. Do they eat it in a farm? They do. They feed it in a farm, right? So same thing with eggs. Eggs are a great example, right? You know, you go to the grocery store and you're like, eggs are like, oh, this was fed an all vegetarian diet. Everyone see that in marketing? On eggs? Yeah? All vegetarian diet. Guess what? Chickens aren't vegetarians. I've owned chickens. They will eat anything. They will eat everything, right? Right. All right. So I'm getting a little off supplements here, but okay. So yeah, so you got to be careful with that. So that's the fish oil thing, right? I'm getting way on a tangent, right? So that's what fish oil does. Helps us build the ratio back. Okay. Yeah, question.
So for the supplements, I know you said it's individualistic, you gotta get blood draw. Is there anything that you should specifically request when they do the blood draw? Or should it just all be kind of?
Yeah, you can get like more thorough panels when it comes to, like, a lot of panels aren't going to show you your fatty acid breakdown, and they're not going to show you certain micronutrient breakdowns. So yeah, you probably have to go to a functional medicine doctor to get that kind of information.
My internal medicine gives you doctors gives you
Yeah.
everything, and it shows the numbers like you're
Right,
saying. So
right.
it shows when I'm low in, which is basically everything. But it shows when I'm low in and what I need.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple companies that I like. There's one called Levels. There's one called Thorn. They actually sell supplements, so I'm always a little cautious with them. But yeah. So yeah, I would say I'd want to see more than just like my D vitamin, B vitamin. I want to look at other things now. Like, and then also like for men, like I'd want to see my testosterone levels and like these things. I mean, it's important for women too, but you know, especially for the men ranges, so male ranges. But yeah. Good question. Yeah.
So you said like the grocery stores are not the best place to get supplements
Mm-hmm.
because of the quality. Where are like your go-to places that have the higher quality or to shop? Like where to go to get those?
Yeah. So you can buy, obviously you can get quality stuff on Amazon, right? Just because it's just, they have just so much access to so many different vendors. Yeah, I would be at a Sprouts here or Whole Foods. I don't like GNC that much, but some of that's because I don't like the people that work at GNC, to be honest. So I'm a little biased, but but yeah, I mean, your Whole Foods, Sprouts, then you go to Amazon, right, and you could probably find good stuff there, or you can go straight to a lot of these places now. So if you got a company that's generally very reputable, you can go straight to their website and just buy it straight from them. So that's a great option as well. So, okay. Any other questions on those lists? Does anyone want to learn about whey protein real quick? We're over on time, or we got to get out of here. Yeah. I want to commend everybody for taking a few minutes, like an hour and a half of their Saturday, and coming out and like hang out and learn about nutrition. That's really cool. All right. Yes.
I really don't eat anything but chicken. So with the whey protein,
Yeah.
I think I need to double up and then maybe drink 2 a day or more. Because with me in the gym, I'm told I need more protein. I'm not eating enough. You need da-da-da. So
Yeah.
I think I need to just drink it. More
I would say I mean, I would look at how much you're eating in general in protein first, right? And then you can build off of that, right? So look at what your total protein intake is and then decide, right? But generally, I mean, the nutrition coaches are going to know this better than I would. But, you know, 0.7 to 1.2 grams of lean mass is kind of like, at least gets you in a ballpark range. But, you know, Liz, Gabby would talk, like, we don't advocate for counting calories usually or counting macros unless you're like at a certain level, then, you know, it's a very advanced level, right? So, but in general, a lot of people are probably under eating on protein. That's probably a general statement that's pretty solid. So yeah, I would say look at your total calories, Tatya, and then see if adding an additional whey protein shake would be helpful. Yeah,
But
yeah.
also, there's a lot of food options that aren't meat that have
Sure.
high levels of protein.
That's right.
So
That's
I
right.
would look at that as well. If you don't like everything other than chicken,
Yeah, yeah.
you don't eat so much chicken in a day. Right?
Lentils are powerhouse, man. Now they have a lot of fiber and they have a lot of other things in them as well, but yeah, for sure. Okay, so I didn't put protein on the list. I didn't put whey protein on the list because of that caveat, right? People like think I got to get protein. I'm in the gym. I got to get protein. It can be helpful to supplement with protein if you're under eating on protein, but you could also just get it from whole food sources and be in a good spot, right? So the most popular one though, and that's the reason I want to talk about it, is whey protein. So what are we talking about when we talk about whey protein? How do we get whey protein? Anyone know? Like, where does it come from? Milk, that's right. Right, it's the byproduct of making cheese. So if you drink a glass of milk, right, it's actually about 80% casein protein and 20% whey. So it's mostly casein protein, which goes into the cheese making process, right? You can get that as a supplement as well, right? But the byproduct of that is whey. And that's what you see oftentimes in like a protein on the shelf, right? So whey protein is a milk derivative. If you're lactose intolerant, you might not like it, might not set well with you, right? So you got to pay attention to that. You have different kinds of whey protein. You have concentrate, you have isolate, you have hydrolyzed, right? And they all do things a little different in the body. Concentrate still has parts of the lactose in it, right? So you're getting the sugar from the milk and the byproduct cheese, right? Okay, so you're getting some of that. It tends to not be as fast to dissolving and processing in the body as an isolate. Isolate is strained out more of that, and that's how you get the whey isolate, less of the lactose, right? So when it comes to whey, here's the thing, it's just like other things. I like to know where it's sourced from, all right? So some whey, a lot of it actually, is just, if you see milk coming in from dairy farmers from all over the world, coming into a giant manufacturing plant, and they take part of that and they make cheese with it, and then they have all this excess and they turn it into whey protein. And then they sell it as a commodity to a manufacturer who puts it in a red bottle and slaps some sticker that says, "This is the best whey protein ever." And then they put a famous person on the front of it, and then they try to tell you it's the best whey protein ever, right? That's what I'm talking about, right? We don't know where that cow was, where it came from. How could we? Because it was just all fed into one giant pool, right? More high quality whey proteins actually have their own cows. They have their own farms. They have their own manufacturing. So they know exactly where these cows came from, who they were. They know they manufactured in their manufacturing plant, and then they sold it to you. So that's a better quality whey protein than the cheap ones that are on Amazon. Even though I just said Amazon. You can get quality ones, but you got to sift. You got to sift through it a little bit, right? Or ask a coach. So concentrate, isolate. Isolate also digests faster in the body, right? So post-workout, isolate might be a little better for you than a concentrate. Yeah.
What are some good times to take fast-absorbing proteins versus, you just mentioned one.
Post-workout, yeah.
Post-workouts versus a slow.
Anytime when I'm wanting to spike insulin. So, yeah. So, post-workout's gonna be great, right? At the end of the day, if it's concentrate, it's not the end of the world. as long as you handle lactose okay and sourced well. Yeah. But I could caution that. It's like, hey, again, if I'm just eating like not well, but then I just slap a protein supplement on top of that, it might not be the best use of our time. Better to do better food, more whole foods, then maybe add this in if I need it, right, to hit my goal. Make sense? So protein has definitely got a little caveat behind it, for sure. Yeah.
Would you say it's always better to get from foods versus supplements?
I don't know. I think so. Liz, would you say so? Always better to get from foods than from supplements, nutrients.
We're in the word always.
Yeah, I'm weird of the word always too, yeah.
I would say food first, then.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if I can get it from food, I'm going to. That's going to be better. You know, because sometimes we don't understand, science doesn't even fully understand what all these micronutrients are doing in the body. Right? So it's a little bit gray there, yeah. But I will say also that some nutrients are getting harder and harder to get from foods because of the soil quality. So, yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
I don't know if this is a dumb question, but foods don't list all of the like micronutrients in them, do they?
I think so. Generally.
It like lists like the levels of it that it has.
Generally, yeah.
If you buy a piece of meat.
Well, no, I guess not a piece of meat wouldn't have the micronutrients listed in it. So no. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that, actually, Mary. It's not a dumb question at all. I don't know. Coaches, nutrition coaches, do foods don't, like when you buy food in the grocery store, it doesn't always have all the micronutrients listed in it. Yeah, I mean, obviously your stuff from the produce section and meats is not, right? Yeah, I don't know what the regulations are to put micronutrients in food labels. I don't know. It's a good question. She'll find that answer. I don't know that answer. I do know this, that when you read a label of food, the first item on the list is the one that's majority of what's in that food. So if you flip over, and that's not just supplements, that's just any food. Flip it over. If they're like, this has spinach in it, and you're like, it's way down there. It has a tiny amount of spinach in it. It's mostly canola oil. Yeah. Yeah, red 3 right at the top. Yeah. So that's, yeah. I don't know, was this helpful? Gives us any framework? Yeah? Do we learn anything new? Okay, we're all going to go out and get some fish oil today. All right, I won't hold anyone late later. This is already over on time, but thank you guys for being here. And yeah. Talk to Liz, Gabby, if you're interested. Jasmine, if you're interested in nutrition coaching, that's what we're here for. We're here to help. So.